I know you didn't expect to see me today because it's not Thursday for the weekly wrap-up, but I'm doing the weekly wrap-up early for a lot of reasons. Hoping you guys can join me today even though it wasn't expected. Want to kind of talk a little bit about, because I know my last weekly wrap-up, I had talked about that there was going to be a Zoom invite going out so that I could share some special news with you tomorrow. Based on timing and how things are moving quickly and how busy we are right now, I chose to just share with you yesterday via e-news and Facebook that finally Lucy the tiger from Argentina will be coming home to the Wildcat Sanctuary. So I was going to share more details on that and some other cases with you via that Zoom call. But I figured it was just easier because I am not going to have any time rest of the week with everything that's going on to do that Zoom call. So we broke the news to you yesterday. So if you didn't see the posts or anything, that Lucy, the Argentina tiger that we've been trying to rescue for about 3 years, is finally going to make her way to the sanctuary. And what does that mean? It means a lot of different things. These are moments that you're so excited, you're worried. Remember, when we started this journey with Lucy, she was old. She was 18, and now she's 20 or a little over that. And so we have to really carefully consider when we have a 20-year-old coming across country lines, is it in her best interest? And so here's what we were thinking. We gave a date of, I think, October 9th was the last date, or October 12th was the original date, that we would accept Lucy, because we really knew this was going to be a trip for her at her age. And then we are going into the winters, and we don't know what our winter's going to be like. So we set that D date. And then we got the news a few days ago that she will be coming and landing in the U.S. on October 9th. So they're right up against the deadline. And so we still said, okay, is it right for Lucy? Here's what my thought was. Remember Sultania? Remember so many of the other geriatrics that we've taken in over the years. It is a big trip, but I also kind of talked about this at the VIP event, and this might be a little extreme, but I'm trying to kind of put an example. If you were wrongly imprisoned and you only have a few months to live, maybe a year to live, and you got your freedom, should you not get a chance at that freedom because you haven't been in the outside world for so long? That people might say you're too habituated to prison life to go out into the world, that it might be hard for you and so unknown. I kind of put that with Lucy, as Lucy could stay, but she could stay for 6 months, a year, 2 years, however long she lives, where she was. But the people that are there advocating for her, even the zoo she is in that has had, issues in the past with animal welfare and overcrowding, all think it is in her best interest to get her to experience sanctuary, no matter how long that will be. And so that's what we're committed to doing. What that means is there's been a lot of moving parts in a short time, more so than there has been with other cats, not only due to her age, but when we moved the Buenos Aires lions here, the Buenos Aires Zoo really handled a lot of the customs, the U.S. customs. We are working with some of the similar people from the Mendoza Zoo, but different government and entity. And so Meredith and I have had to really take over handling all the customs here. We were first told that she was going to go to Cincinnati, Ohio, and reminded them there was no customs. Then that she would be imported to Miami, which requires a Florida permit. And it also requires that you have $1 million insurance bond, and that permit can take 6 to 8 weeks. So that would be putting us back past our date. And so then we looked at other options. They said they could fly her through London and then that was getting really, really long. So the deadline of promising she was going to get in here and all the information we were getting was not lining up. So finally, their broker got a flight on American Airlines via air cargo that will go through New York. And so we will be meeting them in New York. Definitely not something we planned in the midst of Catio Town, in the midst of other many things we have pending, and I'll share a couple things today, but not all of it. On top of, our geriatric special needs, getting ready for winter here, on top of the VIP event we had. So right now we have it planned that Dr. Campbell is going to be coming on the trip, and that originally, when Argentina brings animals here, they brought their caretakers and their vets. We found out about 2 to 3 days prior that they don't have a vet, and so they wanted us to bring our vet. Well, if we bring Dr. Campbell off site with us, that leaves 140 plus residents with not that immediate vet care, because many of you might not know that Dr. Campbell's here 6 days a week. He's here 6 days a week and then on call the 7th. So yes, we do have Dr. Camper who's backup, so we reached out to her, but she is 2 to 2.5 hours away. So even though we have that, if Dr. Campbell's gone, we have a 2.5 hour response time. So what that meant is that, well, then Elise, who manages all of our rescues, couldn't go because we need somebody back here at the sanctuary that's on site that can support the caretakers if there is something that needs to be medically happened or be stabilized till Dr. Camper can get here. So all these things went into play. On top of that, the cost of sending vets and teams and things like that. So we originally were going to take our truck and our 20-foot trailer. Going through New York and Rhode Island and some of this single lane bridge that was really a hardship with that vehicle. And so now we decided to use the new rescue van, but the new rescue van was having some mechanical problems. So Jesse and Bobby have rushed to get that rescue van up and ready for this trip. And now we have that. So right now I will be flying a day early to meet Meredith, who's helped me with the Ukraine Pride import, so that we can meet with all of Customs. We've had an amended permit, as we know, a few times because Violetta was on it and things like that, to make sure that all that paperwork is in a row. Dr. Campbell and Judson will be driving because we needed people that could do trailers, and now that we're doing, especially trailers in New York City, now that we're doing the van, we could switch, but now we have all the staffing decided upon. So we also had to reach out locally to our network of veterinarians, who I'm so thankful for, zoos and facilities, to say if she arrives from this trip in New York and is compromised in any way, it's not safe for us just to open a crate at the airport and do what we need to do. We need a facility to bring her to. So that's been organized. To move, to be able to bring her in, have Dr. Campbell look at her, and then actually go out to another veterinarian or zoo facility if she needs more care and things like that. So that's what we've had to place. So there's been a lot of moving parts, and then of course getting back here, trying to decide exactly where she'll go. So it's definitely been stressful on top of that, but we think we're making the right decision. Does that mean she will do fine on the whole trip? We sure hope so. I don't think they would put her on that plane if she wasn't doing good in the moment, but we know a 20-year-old cat and stress on the kidneys, things can change. So they are not going to be immobilizing her to go into her crate. They're actually going to be, hi Benny, it's Benny and Dahlia in here. They're going to be using operant conditioning to get her in her crate. So we also had to look at crate dimensions, get their crates that were built to make sure they would fit in our van. Making sure the forklift works, because usually the forklift takes the wide part of the crate, but you can't put the wide part of the crate in the van, so we're having to adjust stuff. So there's been a lot of moving parts, and I'm thankful for everybody involved, and I'm thankful for Dahlia, our team, who has really jumped through hoops and just said, tell me what my part is and what I needed to do. So that's an update on Lucy, but know that I'm going to be taking you with us on that journey. So stay tuned to Facebook Live next week as I make the trip, as our team makes the trip back. and really take you with us as far as we can on picking her up and bringing her back and releasing her at the sanctuary. Again, we don't know timing. Sometimes customs can take an hour, sometimes it can take 7 hours, sometimes it can take a day. So we won't know exactly when she'll be arriving at TWS, but follow us on Facebook and your e-newsletters will be the first to share that news. So that was really fun. Also, at the VIP event this week, it was so wonderful to see 50 donors here. We had people that had never been to the sanctuary, and I hope they really enjoyed it. And we had people that have been here several times. And so it was a blessing to have so many people here, getting to meet the caretakers, getting to see their favorite cats that they help support, and then spending time together. I was surprised with some roses and a cake for our 25th anniversary, and some wonderful financial support that came in at our gala and Funded Need. So thank you guys for making every time I have to work behind the scenes to save another life, and our team is saving and making sure once they get here their lives are the best they can be, forever how long that is. Your donations are the ones that make that work. So also, I have been working on a case, and so has Dr. Campbell, for about 3 months. We received a call on, I think it was almost 11, might have been 10 or 11 jungle cats that were shipped to America, supposedly, from Russia and Ukraine, and we're now at a hoarding situation. Excuse me, Dahlia. At a hoarding situation, and all intact, all breeders, and were seized during a hoarding situation, and the facility needed our help. And we had originally said yes, and we'll reach out to all the sanctuaries we could. We reached out to the Big Cat Sanctuary Alliance sanctuaries and others, and only one other facility had space for 2 of the jungle cats, which meant that was a lot for us to absorb. Sadly, quite a 3 or 4 had passed away immediately upon intake at the shelter due to so many illnesses, being underweight. As they were doing intake exams and testing, they realized they had trichomoniasis, they had coronavirus, which a lot of cats can have, they had upper respiratory, they were impacted with worms and things. And then sadly, Khaleesi's virus happened. Some of the domestic cats from that rescue broke out in Khaleesi's virus, which in some instances can do nothing, and others can really take down other cats, causing mouth lesions and upper respiratory infection. And it is a virus that is so stable it can live on surfaces for years. It also is something that even if they're not clinically showing signs, but they're positive, they can be a carrier forever. Usually if you get it and it's going to be detrimental as a cat, you lose your life or have huge symptoms in 2 weeks, and other cats recover just fine. So we had to do a lot of research on the exposure to our cats here at the sanctuary. The shelter was amazing and did so much testing, and then follow-up tests and spaying and neutering. And then we were hoping that the final tests were negative. And when that wasn't the case, it was a very, very tough decision. But we reached out to the shelter this week and said, I know we agreed to take in the 7 jungle cats. We can take in those that are negative, but not those that are positive, because the exposure to our cats. Sometimes shelters always have Khaleesi's virus, so it was also, we already might have exposure here and not know, and it might not be a big deal, but based on having older and compromised cats and so many hybrids, we just had to take the cautious approach. But as always, we don't just say no. After all this research and reaching out to specialists and even shelter vets we reached out to, a lot of the shelter vets said that they would not take these cats in based on the exposure that they could give our other cats here. And so we provided some other options. Some of these options were not accredited sanctuaries. We couldn't vouch for them, but we said as long as the animals were spayed and neutered, they would get good care and you wouldn't have to worry about them reproducing at one of these places. And so they chose one. We're thankful. We don't know what kind of life they'll have there, but we do know they get a second chance. And so sometimes it's hard to say no, and sometimes it takes months in the working. to just want to make sure that we just can't risk the population here. That's always our first priority when we take in new rescues, you know, and we want to help every animal, that's for sure. So I thought I had a little bit of breathing moment because that was 7 cats that we were trying to get to TWS, and also Catio Town is a little behind. It was going to be a couple more weeks behind that we think, because we have some epoxy work and painting that needs to be redone, and so the contractors are doing that. And so then we were like, well, we were really relying on Catio Town moves to make space. So that was yesterday. Was that yesterday? Or that was Monday? That was Monday. I'm trying to remember what day it is. Today is Wednesday. So of those 7 cats, I already have 1, 2, 3, 4. I already have 6 other requests. I'm doing the math in my head. 6 other requests. So that didn't last long, right? We will have 3 new residents coming this weekend. I will share with you what those are next week. We have a couple new that we are accepting later this month, and then we have 4 more that will be joining our family. So the need is still great. A lot of those I'm not, as you guys know, I don't, even with the jungle cats, I try not to share things till they're a done deal, because anything can change. But once you think like, okay, it's really sad, these, I mean, we saw the pictures of the jungle cats, I know all their names and ages, you get attached even though they're not here. It still was, it gives us a little breathing room, but then the calls come in and there isn't a lot of breathing room. Excuse me, sweetheart. Hi, Benny. And, but I talked to the staff, and there are certain circumstances why we say yes. We always have a waiting list. And so sometimes we'll go next to the cats on the waiting list. Sometimes it's really about the circumstance, that it's life or death in the moment for the cat, or, you know, why we have to decline some is if they're cats that are aggressive to other cats or have to live alone. That's a lot harder for us to accommodate here. So stay tuned over the next month and a half. Is going to be a busy month, and we'll share those news with you. And we're also doing moves. The staff has been so busy in doing moves. So everybody knows that you guys funded this wonderful habitat for Fishing Cat Sushi in Cattail Creek. And she has not been wanting to use her waterfall, and she is becoming very habituated to wanting to be in her bungalow. So what we decided is that for the winter, much like we used to do with the cheetahs, moving them up, Sushi is going to move back to quarantine, where it's a much bigger indoor room space for her. And so they're working on moving her this week. And then there'll be some other bobcat moves to fill up her enclosure space down there for the winter. And then again, we're going to readjust in the spring and summer like we always do, and customize that care and bring her back to her area. We might even put in a new type of water feature that might be more amenable to her than the waterfall, the loud noise. But we're going to try again this winter, because remember we had those smaller rock waterfalls that she did fine with in quarantine when she first moved here. So we're going to give her those back and kind of help desensitize her to the waterfall noise, and hopefully that she'll get to go back out and enjoy that big habitat. So some of you got to see her at the VIP event. She was actually pretty brave at the VIP event, and she'll almost do anything for food. So that was great. Other than that, Kiara, her dew claw, she's going to get the cone of shame. Facilities are picking her up one today because she keeps licking where her dew claw has a few stitches, and she's turning it red. So Dr. Campbell said I'm a terrible, terrible pet owner, and I know I am. The cone of shame is the last thing I do, but Kiara's going to need it. Winterizing. I mean, even on a day like today, we feel like we shouldn't winterize, but the shade cloths were going to be coming down, and then Alyssa came in and said that, guess what? Excuse me, sweeties. Blaze and Aspen had fun last night and pulled part of their shade cloth in through their roof. The Kuglets had done it before too. Luckily they haven't eaten anything, but they take it and they pull it in through that little 4x4 hole, and it just becomes a game. So they're out working on that and taking down other shade cloths that'll be needed. We're still hoping, Catio Town, that we can do our things. Jesse and Bobby have been working really hard on the kennel fronts, and so counters for each of the rooms are supposed to be delivered Friday. We have wonderful supporters and volunteers coming in for a week-long volunteer vacation, and they work from sunup to sundown. They're going to be installing the TVs in Catio Town, the outdoor heaters. Once the outdoor kennels start going in on the catios, then they and others can go in and put the mesh, because we have to have mesh between each of the shared walls and the outside catios, just for safety of the animals. So a lot going on, a lot trying to get done before winter, but you guys make it possible, and we appreciate it so very much. And I can tell it's somebody's lunchtime, whether it's mine, Benny, or Dahlia's, because I'm having a lot of friends. I don't know if you can hear, and Kiara's at my feet chewing a bone. Right, Ben? Right, Ben? So Ben's wanting a treat. I'm going to cut this one short, but I just wanted to really touch base with everybody and let you know there will not be a Zoom call tomorrow. You did not miss the Zoom invite in e-news that I tried to kind of encourage you all to attend. I'm just running out of time, and so is the staff, and I know you want us to make those rescues and our current cats the priority, and so that's why I chose to just have Judson and Olivia share on Facebook yesterday that Lucy, the Argentina tigress we've been trying to save for several years, is now coming next week, and we shared it in e-news too. So that's kind of the big news. The jungle cats were going to be the other news that I wanted to share on Zoom, so I was able to share that with you today. And then as I can share other news that is happening and taking place, know that I will do that. But right now, I'm going to get back to getting ready and getting some of the paperwork done for Lucy to come to her forever home here at the Wildcat Sanctuary.